味方チームが海域を占拠した。敵チームが海域を占拠した。油断した。風がせ。敵チームが海域を占拠した。敵接近。敵接近。敵接近。攻撃。
鮮やかな
接近。
我が
目標。敵接近。
Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. There are great ships in the game. There are good ships in the game. There are ships that are a little bit meh, really. And then there's this thing. This is the Ise. The Japanese, oh my gosh, what the hell did they do here? Ship. It looks like something that James May came up as part of Top Gear. This ship, believe it or not, actually existed. Now, the Japanese didn't set out building it, the front half of a battleship and the rear half of a carrier. It looks almost as if two of them sunk and then they scrapped and whatever was left, they welded it together. No, that's not how this came to be. This was actually a battleship. And the Ise was meant as a successor to the Fuso. It had the same guns, pretty much the same layout, otherwise very comparable, and was built towards the end of the First World War. Now, in the Second World War, the Japanese found themselves mildly short of carriers, courtesy of the Americans. So, in a bit of a panic, they figured, okay, we're going to need to convert something that we already have laying around into carrier-ish things. Together with lots of light escort carriers and sort of stuff, they came up with the idea to convert the Ise-class battleships. And they didn't have time, or material, or money, or any of that, so they only did the rear half. These things literally have their two rear turrets chopped off and replaced that with a flight deck. Now, obviously, if you only have half a carrier, you have a certain problem with, well, you can get the planes off the ship relatively easily, but you have problems with getting them back on again because you don't have enough space to actually land anything on. Which means that these things were designed to have a compartment of a set of float planes and a set of relatively modern D4Y dive bombers. The float planes obviously could land on the water, given that they're float planes, and these are the ones we're seeing here. You see the little pontoons underneath. Then there's cranes, and they're lifting the float planes back up onto the ship again. The dive bombers that were these were supposed to be scout planes. The dive bombers were supposed to be catapulted off the ship, then drop their load and fly to the next island or airbase and land there, because there's no way they were gonna get these back onto the ship again. They never really set out with planes. But the other thing that they did, well, given that it was a carrier, well, half one, they then decided all those secondaries were no longer useful, so they got rid of all the secondaries and replaced them with AA guns. These things were absolutely bristling with AA guns. And the Ise herself eventually made it without planes over into the battle for the Philippines when they were trying to defend, and it was part of the Northern Diversionary Force, where they tried to bait Halsey's carriers away, and she actually came in without a plane load. So in the end, she was just on AA duty, and she got pretty lucky. Plus, they were pretty good at dodging, so even though a lot of stuff was dropped on or nearby, she didn't actually get hit. But towards the end of the war, she was just kind of obsolete and was just a floating AA battery. So in the end, she was sunk by carrier aircraft in the end. But she never really operated as a carrier as such. So what do we have in the game then? Well, we've got a Tier 7 premium battleship, as if there's any shortage of those things. She does have a very meh sort of armor and hit points. Clearly not much of a difference from the Fuso. Her maneuverability is poor, as you would expect. Her guns, well, these are the exact same things that you get on the Fuso. These are the old Vickers 14-inch 356mm guns, or at least the Japanese rebuild of these things. The same guns that you already had on the Congo and on the Fuso. Unfortunately, now you're in Tier 7. That means you get into Tier 8 games. These guns reload reasonably fast. They have an okay range. The damage on paper isn't bad, but in practice, the armor piercing, unless you're shooting at extremely light cruisers, isn't really going to do anything. They don't have any secondaries, as mentioned, because these were all stripped off and replaced with anti-aircraft guns. But, well, she does get planes. And you get 2 squadrons of dive bombers. Now, these are the E-16As. These are actually float planes. And I did say they were reconnaissance planes, but these things historically actually worked as dive bombers. So in the struts that were holding the pontoons under the plane, there were dive brakes. So they could actually operate in a dive bomber role, which was very unusual for float planes, but that actually happened. They do take quite a little bit longer to prepare compared to regular carriers with 6.6 seconds, but other than that, the hit points and the bomb damage are relatively similar. Now, dive bombers, if you have ever played Japanese carriers, are not necessarily your primary weapon. So we have kind of the worst half of a Japanese carrier and the worst half of a Tier 6 battleship. So in Tier 7. What she does have, though, is a surprisingly good AA. Now, this is a full AA build as well, but this can surprise enemy carrier players quite a bit, and you can actually use this ship, historically correct, as an AA battery and do some AA defense duty. The concealment, of course, is dreadful. So I did mention earlier on that this really isn't a great ship, and it isn't. She has a niche, a very specific niche. Her armor is dreadful. She cannot stand up against 400mm shells at all, and you do get frequently into Tier 8 games with this thing. Her accuracy on the guns is dreadful, so shooting at anything at long range, unless it's a battleship, you'll be struggling to hit anything. And the dive bombers are meh. So don't really try to use them on destroyers other than spotting. And this is kind of where the key comes in. She is very good at setting fires. So if you're playing it smartly and use your high explosive shells and actually try to set fires and use your dive bombers, try to set fires, you can rack up a decent amount of fire damage. The second thing that she can do pretty well is AA defense, and the last thing that she can do pretty well is destroyer spotting. You can't really do much about them unless you're at point blank range, but at least you can spot them for your team, and then hope that someone else on the team is mildly interested in actually taking care of the problem rather than leaving it to you to deal with the destroyers. I have the elite gun operator actually here to get the reload time a bit down, because you do only have 8 guns, and while the planes are underway, you really don't have anything else to do. And the planes do take a while to get ready back on the flight deck. The alternative would be to improve bomb damage and fire chance, which is valid, I guess, as well. But I figured I can get a couple of salvos off in the time that the planes are on the way, so this is probably the better choice. I have, like I mentioned, done a pretty much AA build, because there's really nothing else you can do with this ship. The main battery mod 1, because the mid turrets, let's have a quick look at that. The center turrets actually need to go the long way around. So if you've got them pointing one way and you want to turn them around, they need to go all the way around, which is a problem you know from other ships as well. But especially if you need to maneuver and you don't have any rear turrets that can loop around or swing around, then it does take them quite a while, and the angles aren't great because they have the superstructures in the way constantly. So getting the guns to turn a little bit better is not a bad thing to do. Slot 2, I have put in the Air Defense Mod 2 to boost the small caliber AA, because for some reason carriers love to drop this thing. I don't know if it's just me, but every time I'm getting into a carrier, I do get a fair amount of carrier game. I do get a fair amount of air focus. Alternatively, the deck protection mod would be a good choice. And yeah, this is really one of those ships where you absolutely definitely want to be as far away from everything else that can shoot back at you as possible, because she gets citadeled like crazy by anything at tier 7 or 8. So I have not actually taken the steering mod, but I have taken another air defense mod. So you do get, at least you can be useful if you run out of planes. Not if, when you run out of planes. At least you can be useful as an AA defense ship. So you can just put yourself in the way of carrier planes, and these are things that you can actually do some decent amount of damage to. Right then, supplies wise, again, is a carrier build here. So I've got the extra AA ammo, and I've got dive bomber speed, and I've got dive bomber HP. You could argue, given that I have no torpedo bombers and no fighters, this isn't a super useful item, and you're correct. But you know, nothing is really on this ship. I have brought a captain over from the Hiryu because why not? It's half a carrier anyway. So we do have the improved return speed. We don't get any ship skills except sort of precise aiming. So we've got torpedo alert here, we've got high alert and a victorious charge. Actually do have the survivalist, because again, this is a carrier build for this captain. You could take the fire supremacy for an additional rapid reload. And I've got the exploit weakness. That actually makes a lot of sense, because you do want to set fires. You very, very rarely want to use the armor piercing on this ship. Most of the time, you're better off using high explosive and trying to set fires. The fire chance isn't great. I think it was like 12% or something. Yeah, the fire chance isn't great, but you know, it's better than nothing. And you still have, you can double it up with your dive bombers. And if you try to just maximize the amount of fires you set, you can do a relatively decent amount of damage. In fact, it's the only way you can do any damage. One thing people have been asking me is to quickly talk about the battle honors. So the first is obviously play 10 battles, and the second one is set fire 50 times, which is really something that this ship is, well, one of the few things that the ship is relatively good at. I mean, it's not an HE spammer per se, but it's kind of the only way really how you're going to do anything. All right then. I have not put historical camo on for obvious reasons, because honestly, I have not enjoyed playing this ship. Not very much. It would give us hit points, range, dispersion, and torpedo damage reduction. So the dispersion, maybe you could take that. Yeah, not be bad. But for me, this is not a tier 7 that I'm extremely excited about. I've kind of got her here for her uniqueness value, not necessarily for being an extremely powerful ship, because she is not. But enough of the talk. Let's get into some battles. In the first battle, we are, of course, bottom tier, as is customary. We are playing on Encounter. And we do have a Mayhem and a Benson to watch out for, and there are no cruisers on our team. So, well, I do have planes, don't I? So let's see, you know, what kind of mischief we can get up. But obviously what you want to do in this sort of situation with the ESA, you want to stay as much back as possible. You want to load the high explosive, and if you're up against battleships, you want to try setting them on fire. Which has the added benefit that you've got the right ammunition against destroyers loaded anyway. So I'm going to send the dive bombers up kind of this way to scout the triple group that sits on the other flank. And yeah, I'm very good with defending the base. I'm not going to go anywhere aggressively anyway. So I just want to see who's here, and if there's one of the destroyers that I can spot, or maybe one of the battleships. Okay, there's the Benson. I don't really want to drop the Benson, because there's no... if I have something better to drop, like that Lyon over there. French battleship. Let's see if I can set him on fire. And well, I have nothing else to shoot at, so I might as well shoot at the Benson. Okay, Leon's on fire, and my damage is my damage is still ticking, so he might be no hits. No, it doesn't look like he's damage conning the single fire. So oh well, let it burn then. I won't complain. Okay, my dive bombers are coming back. There's not much left of them. That's the other problem. You will run out of dive bombers very, very quickly because, well, you know, especially if you're attacking into concentrated Tier 8 battleship formations, things like North Carolinas and such. But we need to move a little bit further ahead. Okay, there's the Mayhem. But there's 3 battleships to my right. They can deal with this, right? They've seen him. He's right there. He's probably dropping torpedoes on someone. They can deal with him. So I'm just waiting for my planes to become ready again. And there's that Leon. Let's see if we can set him on fire again. And let's try to rack up some damage. Okay, there comes a Mayan torps. Nobody really cares about Mayan torps. I can see these from a long way, so I'll just dive bombers to Leon. And the Mayhem looks like he's had enough and is buggering off. So like I said, 3 battleships there. I'm sure they can deal with a destroyer, right? Okay, another shot out at the Leon. Do we get another fire? 2 hits, no fire. 3 bombs, no fire. And 1 bomb, no fire. And by the looks of it, we're losing almost both squadrons. So yeah, that's kind of the problem with these dive bombers. They are not extremely sturdy. I mean, it's the same on the Japanese carrier line. But what else we got to shoot at? Bismarck. Couple of blind shots out at the Bismarck. Did anybody bother to deal with that destroyer that was over here? Okay, let's fire on the Bismarck. Is he damage conning it? See, yeah, he is. Okay, so that's when you then try to follow it up with the dive bombers, because they do have a good chance of setting a fire, well, a decent one. And the Bismarck looks somewhat isolated. So I know that we have a destroyer somewhere there, but you 3 people don't have anything better to do you? You don't have anything to shoot at. Can you please? I mean, you're top tier battleships. Please deal with the Mayhem. Oh, a shot out at the Benson. Maybe we get a kill. Yep, 1 hit. Not to that. Well, okay. 1 bomb hit, no fire on the Bismarck. Oh, there is the Mayhem again. Oh, there we go. That's 1 permafire on the Bismarck. Oh, okay. We'll let that tick. And it still doesn't look like anyone's interested in dealing with that Mayhem over there. I mean, he's spotted and everything. Okay, Leon on low health. Let's see if we can at least kill that guy, because we've lost 1 of our destroyers so far. So let's just get a couple of shots out, and maybe, just maybe, it's enough. Second set of guns out. And that Mayhem is still over there. Okay, okay. There we go. Okay, Leon is dead. And that means we're ahead on points. But that destroyer is still out there, and nobody bothers to go and look for him. So I'm going to do that myself then. See, again, the dive bomb up there. No, that's the Benson. Oh, there he is. Hello. So this is how you can make the life of these destroyers rather unpleasant. Not so much by doing damage against them. I mean, you can try, but yeah, you see, you get maybe 1 bomb hit. Okay, that's the 2nd bomb hit. Not bad, but you're not going to sink him that way. You need torpedo bombers for that. But you can keep the buggers spotted, which means that you give your team a fighting chance. Oh, and they're actually shooting back. You see? Now that he's being spotted for a while, they actually decide that it's a decent idea to shoot back at this little guy. So there we go, forced him to smoke, and this is how you can use the easy to deter destroyers. Now all the battleships on the enemy team are running away from our destroyers, so this is kind of a similar situation there. But our dive bombers are back up, so now we can just make sure that he cannot escape, and he cannot stealth torp. Okay, 1 set should be enough to spot him, other set out at the Monarch, and I'm already running out of planes, as you can see, because that the 2nd squadron, so we'll just send it at the Benson. Okay, Mayhem, let's see, can we kill him like this? No, the dive bombers have all missed, but they have spotted the Mayhem for me, so I can now use my main guns and see if I can get a hit in. Well, at this range, it's a bit of a gamble, and I think that might have not been enough lead. No, it wasn't enough lead. All right then, but he's out of torpedo range, and he's not threatening our battleships. And the other destroyer seems to become desperate, so he's been kind of focusing on the center. And I'm just going to go and chase that Mayhem down, because I have this very unique feature. that I have a dive bomber squadron ready to spot the little guy. And he is on low enough health that I can actually kill him with planes. So that is not a terrible thing. I'm down to 4 planes, so I'm almost out of dive bombers, but that is normal towards the end of the battle. Now I'm spotted, which means he's gonna... Yep, there he is. Okay. Let's see. Can my dive bombers catch him? Yep, gotcha. Not bothering to recall the other ones, too close. But we did get the man. So this is where the ease actually comes in useful. And this is where she can do something. Can we still kill that Benson, maybe? Snapshot off. It looks like he's beached. Okay, so these are all gonna miss probably. Yeah, just one semi-pen on the Benson. From a 356mm shell. The North Carolina takes him out. So that should be the victory for us. And I don't think I'm gonna get my dive bombers on target anymore. Probably just a couple more shots off. But yeah, this is generally one of the things that the EASA is actually good at, is to, if you are in such a situation that you're under a destroyer harassment. Okay, can I still get a shot at the Bismarck? Yes, I can. You're under destroyer harassment, and you can actually use her to spot them. So that's not... What? We got the battle star for this? Oh well. I guess the game rewards destroyer spotting when you're in a battleship. Or the rest of my team really didn't feel like doing anything other than sitting at long range and trying to lob shells at each other. But yeah, this is how you can be helpful and useful to your team in the EASA. You can try to set fires on ships that are running the Damacon, and you can look for destroyers and help dealing with those. What happens though if you get lucky and you're actually top tier? Now, before we start this battle, have a quick look at the enemy team. Look at that division there. Yeah, these are my buddies from my fleet. And I do have permission to actually use this video. Especially Ergo has given permission to use this video, specifically under the premise that I point out that A, he generally knows what he's doing, and B, well, you'll see. Okay, anyway, we are top tier for once, and we're playing Silent Shoal. So we've got Independence. I was actually really looking forward to surprising him with my AA build. We've got Colorado, Arizona, a Wanghe and a Trento, and we're playing Silent Shoal. Now, mid-tier games are always fun and interesting in very specific manners. So let's see how this one plays out. 2 destroyers, but we do have a carrier on our side, so I'm not super concerned about being the only one on spotting duty. So switch over to the high explosive, off the fighter planes, off the dive bombers go, and I do not want to be caught by Ergo's fighter planes, so I'm sending them out on the other flank, just keeping an eye on where he's sending his planes, just to see if I can get some early spotting done and can find out who's where and what's going on. Maybe one of the destroyers would be good to know where they are. Okay, there's the Lebrecht Mars. Do I have something better to drop? Yeah, let's drop Arctic Wolf in the Wanghe. Since we're here, maybe we can force we get him spotted. We can force some long range shots, but I don't think he's in range of anything. Okay, that Lebrecht Mars is sitting surprisingly still, so I've got the high explosive loaded, and I'm not sure he's actually going to stay there, but we'll get some shots off. But at least we know who he is. Okay, that actually worked better than I thought it was going to. And he seems to be not wanting to move off, but he has damage controlled the fire, and now he's moving behind the island. But he does come under fire, because he's been spotted. And we get another salvo off at the Trento. Now, I got my... You see that Independence there? Actually, let me pause it here for a second. So I have asked Ergo what happened afterwards. And he said he put her in forward, and then got sidetracked somewhere. And forgot that he was actually moving while operating his planes. So, yeah. But I've got the bigger problems because there's a Jervis coming for me. And Ergo's Independence is happily sailing right into the middle of the enemy team. Which is not really a place you want to be, but, you know, oh, there he goes. So that's that. But, yeah, I do have a Jervis here, so there are probably torpedoes in the water. Got a couple shots out. These shells are extremely slow, so I'm not actually leading enough. But I am doing a little bit of damage, and I'm just pointing the nose towards the enemy. And again, keeping both of the destroyers spotted is extremely useful. Our carrier is doing a good job of that as well. Okay, so this should be a walk in the park then, right? Enemy carrier taken out 2 minutes into the game. Shouldn't be that hard. Okay, let's see. That Jervis is wiggling because he's under fire. But our carrier is actually doing a decent job as well of keeping him tracked. So my planes are almost up again. And we've got both destroyers somewhat pushed back, which means we can start, I don't know, dropping some bombs on the Trento maybe. Because the enemy team is concentrating somewhat on that flank. And getting that Jervis killed would be really nice. Let's see if I can get some shots in. And RNG says nope. Oh well. Should have probably used the precise aiming there. But okay, that's one bomb drop on the Trento. It's a Leibrecht Maas. Well, for this one, maybe we can get some shots in. RNG says nope. So it doesn't really matter. You're not going to hit anything anyway. And again, I have 2 destroyers which are reasonably close to me, so I do have to watch out a little bit. And the enemy team is 2 ships down. We've lost 1 battleship so far. And it looks like that Leibrecht Maas is running into the Fiji torps, so apologies for taking that one. I've seen these too late when my shells were already in the air. Arctic Wolf takes out the enemy shores in the Wanghe. How did the shores mess that up? And these 2 guys are pretty much still in full health, so I do have to watch out a little bit. Because while we're still 1 ship ahead, we're only halfway through the game. So let's see. And that Ernst-Gede looks like mildly suicidal, running into a close range fight with 2 destroyers. And that Fiji is about dead. So we're still bomb dropping the Trento. And yeah, there goes the Fiji. So again, we equal on points. We equal on ships, and the enemy team is ahead on points. So, well, now's the time to be a battleship and do something about it. Now, this is a situation where you can actually start using the armor piercing, because against broadsiding light cruisers like that, this might be actually useful. Let's see if we get anything in. There are no citadels, couple of semi-pens, but you know. Okay, Arctic Wolf, stop playing with your food. There he goes. Killed the destroyer. So now we're down on ships. Okay, which means that I have now to deal with that Trento. Now. That's not so much of an issue. He's got torpedoes, but I've got an island. And of course, you see bounces, semi-pens. There's no way you can do something even against the bottom tier cruiser with these armor-piercing shells. But I got some dive bombers as well. I'm just using the island to shield myself from torpedoes. The Wanghe is actually more dangerous in terms of torps, but we are capping the enemy team, so they do have to do something about it. And there we got lucky, 3 bomb hits, and now he seems to be... Yeah, now they're getting somewhat desperate, and he's trying to rush me. So, yeah, that means he's dead. Even with the dreadful armor piercing of this ship. A couple of overpens at this range, actually. Didn't get torpedoes away, so Wanghe is next. The Wanghe obviously needs to deal with the enemy ship inside the capture circle. What's it looking like back there? Okay, that Arizona is probably dead. And our carrier might be dead as well, but if we can kill the Wanghe, then we can cap out if it becomes necessary. So there should be again torpedoes in the way, so I'm putting the ship in reverse. That's 2 bomb hits on the Wanghe, and again I've got the armor piercing loaded. Let's see if we can do anything. Overpens. Trying to hit the center here, but even against an extremely lightly armored cruiser like this, there's no your damage remains patchy. But this has done enough damage that the Pensacola could take him out, which means we've got the cap now for ourselves. And the Arizona is killed by our Independence, which means there's only the Colorado left. So yeah, I think I've still taken a torp there, but I should have dodged most of them. And in either case, I've got enough health to tank that. So now we can just drop some bombs and some more shells onto the Colorado. There's no way we can kill him. And I really don't want to be anywhere. I really don't want to be shot at by this thing because that hurts. But this rack up a little bit more damage. Here's another fire, and a couple of hits. Another fire. Nice. The dive bombers doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't think there's much left of them because Colorado. American AA. But yeah, anyway, so while we're mopping up the Colorado, well played, everybody. GG to my fleet mates here. And this might have turned out very differently if Ergo has been around still and hadn't put his independence in forward and then forgotten about it. This has happened to me as well. Yeah, it's just one of those things. So yes, you can have games like this in the EASA. Most of the time, you'll be, at least for my place, I felt be more disappointed of this ship. She might shine in special situations, maybe in carrier games, I don't know, to just give you this additional dive bomber load and the AA. That would be quite a strong thing. But in general, I think there's a novelty value to this thing. And there are very, very specific situations where she's useful. In general, you're pretty much in half a Fuso in Tier 7. That's probably all I've got to say about this. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks, everybody. And I'll see you next time. Bye.